What is mindfulness and what mindfulness is not? Mindfulness helps us to become more aware of our emotions. Mindfulness is not a non-responsive practice. Mindfulness teaches us how to use our brain to regulate our body and our emotions. Mindfulness is not a constant happy state. Mindfulness helps us break negative response patterns and create positive response patterns. Mindfulness is not a single event that only works the brain.
The human brain is a profoundly complex organ. 90% of its activity occurs beneath conscious awareness, which means that even though we assume that we have some control of how we think, feel and behave, modern science suggests it's not so simple. The concept of neuroplasticity is a new and exciting area of science. It highlights that our brain is constantly being reshaped throughout our lives by both our experiences and our thoughts. We now know that it is the focus of our awareness that determines which brain networks are strengthened and which are weakened or lost. That means that when we get caught up in cycles of worry or irritability, these are the networks within the brain that become stronger. So the more we worry, the better we become at worrying. However, on the other side of this, if we practice being calm, clear and focused, we can strengthen these networks too. As humans, our brain differs from other animals. This is mostly due to the front areas of the brain called the frontal lobes, often called the new brain, as it was the last to develop in our evolution. When well developed, this part of our brain helps us to manage our strong emotions and respond with flexibility, even when we feel overwhelmed. It also helps us to tune into the feelings of others with empathy and insight. When we feel worried, distracted or stuck on achieving goals, our brain function is more strongly dominated by our old brain, which has a part called the amygdala. The amygdala manages the powerful fight and flight response, which switches on when we feel stressed or anxious and releases hormones and chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline. That is why stress has such a big impact on us. Mindfulness is a technique that can help us to manage this process more effectively by building our skills of attention, concentration, and a capacity to direct our awareness in a certain way. This all means that we're less likely to be swept up by a strong emotion and the power of the amygdala. It also means we can bring choice to our emotions and our thoughts. In doing so, we're playing an active role in changing the way the structure of our brain develops, in much the same way we can change the shape of our body by doing certain exercises at the gym. When we practice meditation regularly, we build a capacity to become aware of thinking and emotion. As our mind becomes more settled, our nervous system is able to take in more accurate information, and we can access capacities for creativity, flexibility and lateral thinking, which enable us to manage challenging situations more skillfully. When we build skills of mindfulness, we still experience negative feelings like frustration, disappointment, fear or irritability. But the research shows that we recover much more quickly. We now know from research into brain development that regular meditation and mindfulness practice reduces the size of the amygdala, reduces levels of stress hormones and strengthens connections to the frontal lobes. This all means that we're more likely to live with less stress and more happiness.
Today, I invited mindfulness expert Sandy Cusano to guide us as we take a closer look at the practice of mindfulness and to get a deeper understanding of how to use mindfulness as a tool in our lives for success. Sandy is a San Francisco-based speaker, author, and certified coach who helps Asian women across the globe create lives that they love. Her mission is to increase mental fitness of women and girls so they feel empowered, worthy, and deeply connected to what gives them meaning and joy. Sandy has trained in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy at the Oxford Mindfulness Center in England. In addition, she holds certifications in neuroscience for business from the MIT Sloan School of Management and the Human Potential Institute, a global pioneer within the field of coach training and human development. So thank you for joining us today, Sandy, and we're so happy to have you.
Thanks, Christina. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes. So we started with viewing a video of mindfulness and how the brain works. This video pretty much provided us a snapshot of how the brain responds to the various functions and emotions our body and brain experiences. So what is neuroplasticity and how it relates to our brain and mindfulness?
Neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to modify, change, adapt to both structure in both structure and function throughout life in response to what we're experiencing. It's about changing our neural networks to change their connections and behavior to all the new information and sensory information that we're receiving. So what does that? It means that once upon a time, scientists and we all believe that we had our brain went through development through infancy and childhood and our teenage years, and then once it became an adult, it was believed that the brain was set. And now science and technology has shown that that is not the case, that our brain is continuously changing and can change. So that kind of saying, you can't teach an old dog, old dog tricks, that's
right.
Not true. It's actually the fact that as long as you have focus and will to bring change, your brain can adapt and experience new behaviors, changing of habits, and create new neural pathways. So that is neuroplasticity. It means that your brain is plastic and it can kind of be bendable and flexible.
That our brains and the way we function can change as long as we have focus and we're committed to that change.
Old brain is what you might have heard before, something called survival brain or lizard brain. So it's the part of the brain that was first formed. That's first formed in embryo. It is really attached to just your early ancestors, and you will also be familiar with phrases like fight, flight, freeze. It is what happens when you feel threat or danger and how your brain responds. So that's kind of old brain.
Okay.
And old brain's function is only to respond to threats or danger or stress, right? It can't be creative. It can't problem solve. It can't think through complex ideas. It's just about reacting to the stress around you. Whereas new brain is what formulates the last part of your brain, so the newest part of your brain before you enter the world, and it is the part of your brain that can process complex ideas, problem solve, feel empathy, express empathy, and so those are the two differences. And so what we're trying to do with mindfulness is move from your reactive old brain, which is helpful but not in all situations, and allow yourself the ability to have choice in how you react to the world versus just being on autopilot. So that is why mindfulness really helps to expand and help you understand how to use your new brain.
Right. I like that when you said choice. It allows the individual to have choice in going from the old brain into the new brain. So this practice of mindfulness gets us to that place where we're choosing to respond differently instead of always being in a negative reactive state, which happens. I mean, because that is part of our brain, right? That's something we necessarily can't escape. However, we can make a choice to say, okay, this is how I'm going to respond in this situation, or regroup, if you will.
Sure. Great point. And it's what you highlighted, Christina, is that none of us are going to be perfect at it. Even those that practice mindfulness, it is a practice. It goes throughout life, and you're not going to be perfect at it. You're going to have moments where you're going to react in your kind of survival brain, and that's perfectly fine. It's just being able to catch yourself and again have that choice. So, if a tiger is chasing after you, you want your survival
have to be a survival brain,
right? You don't want to sit there and think, should I run or should I not? You just go, right? Or whatever you feel, or hide, or whatever your body tells you to. But if an authoritative figure is yelling at you, your body will react to that as if it was a tiger in the bushes about to pass.
Right.
But the reality is that that's not what's happening. If you're just being perhaps yelled at because you didn't do an assignment, or you are experiencing some sort of stress in that way, your body thinks that there's a threat out there, but the reality is there's not. And so you want to be able to tap into the part of your brain that actually not respond to a physical threat, but respond to more of an emotional threat.
I like that. That's good. And you providing those examples, because sometimes it does cause to respond to a physical threat. But in situations where you're identifying this practice and you want to move yourself to a new space emotionally, and that is true. And it talks about that in the video, how our body has functions. We'll react. We'll get nervous. Our heart will start beating fast, or we'll start sweating. And those are bodily functions that we know that how we're going to respond. We may want to kind of readjust, or we may need to, like you said, hit the ground running and kind of respond in that fight or flight environment.
Sure. What I can share with you here is that a really interesting statistic. So average adults, 47% of the time are not paying attention to what they're doing.
47%, you said?
40% of the time. So all of us, 40% of the time, the average adult does not pay attention to 40% of their waking time. So we can definitely do better than that. Right? And so what it's saying, and what mindfulness practice does, it helps us really connect with our present moment. Right? So 40% of the time, if we're not paying attention, it means that we're not being mindful, we're being mindless, right? We're just kind of off in thought, off in story, right? So something could have happened to us, and then we just hit the replay button, play it over and over again. Or what if I didn't do that? Or what if so-and-so said it this way? We just read these movies in our mind. And that is being mindless, right? We are creating these ultra scenarios that are not real.
Right.
And our bodies react to them as though it's real. Our emotions get driven as though they're real. They're just stories. There's nothing really real about them. The only real moment was that moment that happened one time. Yeah. And everything else kind of, and so it's not to say that you can't problem solve or think about, situations that have happened to you, but that mindless replay really doesn't help serve you in any way in coming up with solutions, because all it's doing is keeping you stuck in old brain, keeping you stuck in the right brain. So how does mindfulness practice help you? It helps you anchor into your present moment.
Yes.
Right? So who you are right now, outside of any other scenario. And when you are able to do that consistently, it changes how your brain reacts to other scenarios. So knowing how to anchor, how to be in your present moment, how to experience your body, that's how it helps change your brain from automatically switching to autopilot all the time and being mindless to, again, that powerful experience of actually having choice and developing the part of your brain that allows you to process complex thinking.
In the present.
In the present.
In the present. Anchor in the present. That's good. I like that. Anchor in the present. So we have neuroplasticity, where our brain is malleable. It's like plastic. It can change. Whereas though before, old thinking and old ways of old research said it couldn't change. We have this old brain and this new brain. The old brain acts out of survival, the flight or flight. However, in the practice of mindfulness, we start developing the new brain, where we have those other more positive, present emotions and conditions that can move us forward, like empathy, like problem solving. And then changing our brain, the practice of mindfulness, changing our brain and how it develops, is anchoring in the present. I like that. Thank you so much. And the video also, gives us that foundation piece of just scientifically how the brain works. And then it gives us the neuroplasticity term, and then the amygdala. Am I saying it correctly? Yes, the other term. Next, we have Jennifer Grace. She is a not mindfulness expert, she is a mindset expert. And she did a TED Talk on why mindfulness should be as important as math in our schools. And pretty much as an advocate, she created a curriculum and, fighting to get the curriculum through schools throughout the nation. One thing that she really focused on is the correlation between mindfulness and success, right? And health and wealth. So she really wanted to point out in her TED Talk that mindfulness is the tool that really differentiates, which brings people to the other side and really to identify what success looks like in health and wealth. And that's what this course is about, really, to say, what does success look like for you? Because it looks different to each and every one of us. But this tool of mindfulness, as she clearly defines and provides some examples, will help you get there. And one thing that stood out to me was her definition of mindfulness. She defined it as paying attention to your present moment, as we just spoke about. Experience with an openness, curiosity, the practice of being here and now. So we did touch on that, and I think that's so important because life is moving so fast, right? We have so many things on our plate. So for us just to stop and be in our present here and now is a gift. Is really something that we have to be intentional about. I know for myself, right? Many times you feel as though if I stop and be in the present, I'm not going to get anything done. But it does help us more than hinder us, despite popular belief, right?
Sure. So mindfulness is, as you say, it's a tool, it's a skill. And what it needs is consistency. It's not complicated. It is about carving out space in your day. The ideal is 12 minutes. If you can do 12 minutes a day or build up to that, where you are anchoring in your present moment, then your neuroplastic brain will begin to anchor into that and really understand and formulate its abilities to catch your wandering mind. And that is what mindfulness is. It's this practice in catching your mind wandering and finding calm amidst the kind of clutter that you experience in every day. So if you can, it's not about not having thoughts, but it is about being able to catch yourself when you're wandering.
That's the practice.
Yeah. That's the practice, catching yourself when you're wandering.
Yeah.
Now, so when you are present, it means that you are experiencing life and not in your wandering mind, right? So it's very much like physical exercise where, imagine yourself doing like a bicep curl, right? You're kind of working your muscle and you're having to do reps, right? We know this term, reps, repetition. You have to do it a certain amount of times to experience a result, right? To experience tone or growth, build muscle growth. It's the same thing if you think of your brain as a muscle. You have to have repetition and consistency. So by science, we know that if you can sit or be in meditative experience for at least 12 minutes a day, or build up to that 12 minutes, then you are going to build those neural pathways that you need to be in clarity.
So I have here, in mindfulness practice, what are negative emotions, and what are our positive emotions?
We can narrow down our emotions into kind of two buckets, really simple: love, fear. So if you think about and then think of the range of emotions that radiate out of fear. You can have frustration, you can have anger, you have envy, jealousy, anything, anxiety, all of those things can come out of fear, right? They're kind of, if you think of a bicycle wheel, like spokes out of the center, then these are the emotions that elevate out of fear, right? Whereas love is this other center emotion where we have, adoration, joy, peace, passion, creativity, all of these other things come from love. And emotions are messy, and I want to be clear for everyone to understand that negative emotions are not bad. It feels like they are because we say negative emotions, and so we can think of it differently. But the problem with either emotion, either way of being emotion, is that we get stuck in the emotion. We get stuck in the story, right? So what you don't want to be is angry. Angry is healthy and you should experience it and have it. But what you don't want to be is angry in the same story over and over again for a lengthy period of time. That is not helpful. One, your body is responding to an event, a perceived event. And so it's going to react to that event and protect you, right? So if it thinks that you're in threat, it's going to spew out cortisol and all these things that you need when you're actually in physical threat, but you're not, because you're just going through an anger story, an anger movie.
Playing a tape back.
And those chemicals that your body is spewing out to protect you can become very toxic because you're actually not running or reacting in the way that you are. You're just probably sitting and thinking about why you're angry, right? So
that's, like you said, that could be very toxic because they do mention how some of those negative emotions, how they affect the body. They bring on weight. They, can start breaking down your body internally that can cause disease or just have all types of malfunctions or dysfunctions.
And we think of it this way: your body is just protecting you because your body thinks that you are in threat. And every time you play that movie in your mind, it thinks that it's in a threat situation. So all your body is doing is actually protecting you. But again, your mind, your body cannot tell the difference between an actual threat and a perceived threat. So every time you are in your story, you are having kind of this backlash effect on your body. Whereas if you are doing it in a present moment, I'm thinking through this to find a solution to my problem, that's very different. That is an active, you're in your prefrontal cortex, your new brain, and you're problem solving or you're finding creative solutions. Whereas if you're in your survival old brain, you're just being reactionary and you are causing a chain reaction in your body as well. So, but negative emotions are great. They have stimulated change in our society for thousands of years. So it's not to say don't experience negative emotions. One of the best examples and my favorite example that I hold for myself is, you look at the life of Nelson Mandela and what he was able to experience throughout his lifetime. He experienced a tremendous amount of anguish and hate and unfair treatment throughout his life and watching what it was happening within his community and society. He was in jail for much of his life, and yet he did not wallow in his anger and frustration. And he actually evolved his life and was able to react despite all the hate that came into his life. He was able to turn it around and act out of love,
Right.
and pride, and just being able to bring this tremendous change into his life,
Wow.
into the world, into his society, his community. And so I think for me, that is always this pivotal example of how one man took the hate that came into his life, and he used that, he turned it into love and made tremendous impact and change.
Yes, that's totally true. And that's why I appreciate how you did those two buckets, love and fear. So you have both of them, you're going to experience both of them, but it's kind of navigating and not sitting in the fear, and making sure you're going to that place of love too, like you said, and using all those attributes and characteristics within that space of love. It's almost like you're going back and forth, but in that transition back and forth, that you're holding more onto the love piece, and really, like I said, using those attributes and characteristics to problem solve, to embrace, to be more empathetic, to make sure you're making that positive impact instead of, like you said, sitting in the fear or the hate. That's
Just a simple tip for anyone that is going through life and going through maybe hard times or stress and thinking, why is this happening to me? Is an act of just, is something that's kind of like, why are all of these things happening to me? Is this simple ability to change that 2 to a 4. 2 to a 4. So instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You can ask yourself the question, why is this happening for me? What is the opportunity or gift that's happening? And sometimes, depending on the level of what you're experiencing, the answer doesn't just pop up just because you ask the question. But if you continue to stay in this mindset of opportunity and that there's a gift somewhere, that even in the hardest of times, there is a reason for it, and there is something on the other side of the tunnel for you on that.
right.
Keep asking yourself the question, why is this happening for me?
Why is this happening for me?
If you are experiencing something that's stressing you out or made you angry or made you sad or anything, instead of doing the replay of the story over and over again and feeling that over and over again without any solution, one way to get into your mindful state is to give yourself 10 minutes of just quiet time and ask yourself the question, why is this happening for me? Why did this happen for me? And you can
Because
just
you're going to get some answers. Things are going to pop into your head. You're asking the right question, right? They say you're not asking the right question. Ask the right question. Why is this happening for me? And in that moment of meditation, you'll see eventually, maybe not right away.
You definitely, maybe not right away, but what it's doing is it's starting to build your pathway in your brain, literally build the pathway that's taking you closer to your prefrontal, the front part of your brain that can process the situation versus that fearful reactionary part of your brain, that old brain.
Yeah,
So just
exactly.
question, it moves, literally physically moves your awareness from the part of your brain that's not going to serve you to the part of your brain
That will serve you. That's what I blanked on. Yes, that you're developing that new brain.
It's really important to understand meditation gets a bad rap, and everyone thinks it's something where you have to sit cross-legged and be, like a monk or zone out and, burn incense or something like that. It really isn't. It can be, but it doesn't need to be. You can do standing meditation, do walking meditation, lie, sit down in a chair, or you can sit cross-legged. It's up to you. It's not about that. It's more about, again, being present and just really dropping from your brain, your thinking, into your body.
into your body. And that's what I appreciate so much about this practice, is that you have the choice. And I think many times in our society, when people deal with situations, they feel as though they're confined, or they may not have a choice, right?
Mhm.
So in this practice, like you said, it's simple in the sense that you just have to ask yourself the right questions, make up your mind that you want to go from this old brain into the new brain. And if you're having those day-to-day conversations, if you will, or sitting still in reflections, you'll get to that place, because it's a natural progression if you allow yourself to feel it. And that's what I really do appreciate about the practice of mindfulness. It's not complicated. It's not, oh, you have to do this way. I mean, of course, there's certain techniques that support you, but as you move along in it and you're introduced to it, you'll find that in your day-to-day, there's ways that you can practice it. And it's as simple as you kind of just being present.
Inviting everyone to just find their comfortable space where it's quiet. And if that means putting some headphones on just to block out the noise, then go ahead and do so. You can sit in a chair, you can sit on the floor, you can lie down, or you can stand. It's up to you. Just a few helpful tips on a healthy meditation or mindful routine is you want to aim for a minimum of 12 minutes a day. If that means that you start off with 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and build up, do that, right? Don't get discouraged because you can't sit 12 minutes the first time around. If you're new to this, it does not matter. Don't get discouraged. It's like anything, a new skill that you're trying to build, start small and build up to it, and just practice. And a simple framework to understand is that thoughts will happen, accept that thoughts and distractions are natural. So don't try to be trying to go to a perfect space where it'll be absolutely quiet or nothing will happen or you won't have a thought. That's not it. Linear thoughts will happen. Stillness is inside everyone. So awareness that you will always have your pure being, that inner self, that stillness in you, no matter what. Have an anchor. So as you close your eyes or go inward, it's helpful to have an anchor. The anchor could be a mantra, like, why is this happening for me? Or your physical sense, such as your breath, that physical sensation of your breath, or touch, rubbing the palms of your hands together, or even sound, listening to the sounds around you, and just putting it on those. And then whenever you have a thought or you have a distraction, you accept that you have that, and then you come back to your anchor whenever you're distracted. And then allow your mind to soothe pain. So when you have an unsettling thought, you allow your mind to actually go to that experience and have that uncomfortable feeling. And you'll notice that your mind provides comfort. You can ignore your feelings the rest of the day, but in this space, really just feel your feelings and then come back to your anchor. And so with that being said, let's begin with our meditation for today, our mindful meditation. It is a body scan, so just an exercise to get us into our. So again, allow your body to find a comfortable way to be, and let your posture be upright but not uptight. And if it feels okay for you, close your eyes and place your attention to the sensations of your breathing body. If you decide to keep your eyes open, that's okay. Just allow your gaze to rest on the floor so that you don't have any visual distractions. See if you can connect and hold your attention to the full length of your in-breath. Allow yourself to experience the full length of that inhale, whole thing. See if you can connect and sustain your attention to the full length of the out. Allow yourself to experience the full length of the exhale. The whole. So inhale and exhale. As you continue to become more aware of your breathing body, slowly bring your attention to your forehead. Feel the energy of your mind behind your eyes at the temples. Let go of any tension in the muscles of your face. Bring awareness to the hollow space of your mouth. And see if you can release any tension at your neck or throat. As you send the breath down into the body, begin to pour your awareness into your body. Bring awareness across the top of your shoulders. Again, releasing any tension. Let your awareness slowly move down into your biceps and elbows, down into your forearms and wrists. Bring your awareness into your hands, feeling the sensations of all 10 fingers. If you begin to recognize your mind is wandering, or that you become lost in your thoughts, plans, or memories, just take a short pause and bring your attention back to your anchor. It's your breathing body. As you continue to do this over and over, just bring in an attitude of kindness and empathy for yourself. You're doing the best that you can. Bring attention to the center of your body and feel the sensations of your breath in your belly. Maybe notice the rise and fall of your stomach as you inhale and exhale. Feel the weight and pressure of your body, whether you're sitting down in a chair or on the floor or laying down. Now bring your awareness across the top of your thighs into your knees, down to the front of your legs, feeling your shin bone in the front and the muscles of your calves in the back. And finally arrive down inside your feet as they rest on top of the floor, putting your full awareness into your left foot and then slowly into your right foot. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes.
Deep down, I keep feeling this pain in my chest. I got kicked out of my house.
The panic attacks.
I, like many other teens, have struggled with anxiety. My social anxiety.
Really bad anxiety and depression.
I used to go to school just completely exhausted every single day because I'd be up all night worrying.
I felt kind of like a ghost roaming through the halls.
The stress made me sick.
It's just a lot of repetitional thinking about like if there is a purpose to life, whether if there is any reason to continue forth or to just cut it short.
Take a second and breathe and reflect on what you feel.
Awareness to who I really am and how I matter.
Finding balance.
It really feels like a place where you can be yourself.
We can be authentic.
Feel safe.
Safe?
I was like on the verge of suicide before taking the class, and my family didn't really know what else to do. I was in counseling and seeing a therapist and taking medicine. Spending the first semester in this class really helped me get past that point and not let the mental illnesses I struggle with take over my life. So class brought a lot.
Anytime I start to feel overwhelmed, drop down, I put my head down. I was like, all right, let's think. I just started breathing, and it's just really helpful. It's easy to get mad. It's not easy to get angry and then like bring yourself down. Me growing up, I was always told like meditation and stuff was things that like priests or like it was a girl thing. But then you grow up a little bit and you're like, meditation is just you taking care of yourself, and everybody should take care of themselves.
It's real stuff. It's what you need.
You learn these tips for life skills that actually bring you together and interweave with everyone else.
Being able to share.
Direct my attention and stay present.
I can break my fear.
I now know how to turn my attention to my breath, calm myself down.
I knew that I could help myself.
Observe life more.
How to speak in a way that makes people want to open up to you.
Show myself loving kindness.
Learning how to control my anger. I also learned how to, be more of a better listener.
This class means everything to me right now.
It honestly feels like 50 pounds is lifted off my shoulders.
I truly believe that this class has saved my life and changed it for the better.
Thinking about what the mindfulness class at my school has done for my community and my school in general, it's been groundbreaking.
I think it's just a really valuable class, and I honestly wish that it was at every high school in the U.S.
If there was a mindfulness class like in every high school,
I feel like this world would be a totally different place because I feel like there'd be a lot more understanding.
And there would be a lot more respect in the world.
If mindful studies was in every school in the world, we'd all become much better listeners.
Somebody says something, somebody doesn't like that, has to retaliate. But if we had mindfulness, we can learn to accept that my reality is different from yours.
I think a lot of that tension is caused by people not really knowing how to handle themselves and their feelings and emotions.
You don't have to be a politician to change the world. You can just be in a mindfulness class. That's how I feel.
I have the ability to overcome obstacles. I have the ability to achieve like never before, and I have the ability to be who I am, loving who I am, and taking that love with me and spreading it everywhere else I go.
One of the things that you knew you had to do with the Bulls in the beginning here in Chicago, and then moving on to the Lakers, especially with Kobe Bryant, and you knew you had to create a team, you had to build a team. And one of the ways you did that was the one breath, one mind. Can you explain how, and what did the guys think of you coming in with your Zen stuff? Here you are.
I never couched it in Zen stuff. I approached it with mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yes.
A lot of our players in the NBA are from deeply religious families, very much like my background.
Yes, yeah.
And, anything that would be a conflict of their religious beliefs, I didn't want to touch or get them upset about it. And
Isn't it interesting how you knew that because you'd come from that?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we talked about mindfulness as being, as much as we pump iron and we run to build our strength up, we need to build our mental strength up. We need to build our mental strength so we can focus, get one-pointed attention, and so that we can be in concert with one another in times of need.
Mm-hmm.
When you come off the court, you've had a bad call, things going wrong for you, you sit on the bench, you take a breath, and you reset yourself. You reset yourself. And you do that through this mindfulness. You just come right back in and collect yourself. So we practiced mindfulness, is what you have to do.
So you would literally have the guys sit in stillness.
That's right.
Meditating.
That's right. Taught them how to hold their hands, where their shoulders had to be, the whole process of being in upright situations so that you're not slouched and you're not going to fall asleep. And they bought into it.
Would you do this before every game? You would do this regularly? You would do this?
We introduced it, and we introduced it in training camp. And then day of games, we started using it. And it ultimately became a process where
It's like
you know,
centering yourself.
that's
Centering,
right,
yeah.
just getting back and being centered.
Did you not also have them play in the dark at one point?
It wasn't totally dark, but I wanted them to get the idea of being able to do things that are just out of the ordinary, like silence day. You have a day of just silence. There's a lot of chatter in basketball, and rightfully you want players to be talking to each other and communicating with each other. But sometimes in practice it gets too verbose and guys are yelling and having fun with each other and teasing each other. So I tried to take things out of the ordinary and make them something special so they'd understand the difference.
And so were the guys receptive in the beginning to these new ideas about mindfulness and being able to master the game from the inner?
I think they tolerated it, and I think the reason why they tolerated it, this is one of the things I talk about in the book, is about being authentic and coming from who you are and what you think is important. I mean, you know, Oprah, I tried Tai Chi with the players. They were doing Tai Chi, and we tried yoga. We tried a bunch of things that didn't stick. The players were like, you know, I'm too tired after practice to do yoga. You know, I've got tendonitis of the knee. I can't get in a position that's right for Tai Chi. But I wanted to give them opportunities to explore some of those things. But what did stick was meditation. That was always something that was able to stick with these guys.
So powerful.
Yeah.
And then you move on to the Lakers. Were your mindfulness practices as embraced as they had been in Chicago?
You know, I think those guys would have laid down and let me run on top of them or something when I first got. They were very, very receptive. There was hiccups along the way, without a doubt. But as far as being willing learners with an open mind, they're very accommodating for me, and I'm very gracious and glad about that.
You actually say in the book that, you know, driving a basketball down the court could be one of the most mundane, you know, day-to-day, boring, as you describe it, activities, but being able to find the sacred in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
To put spirit into it. You have
Put
to get
spirit into
spirit
it.
back into things.
Yeah.
For Norwich, we've always worried about the whole person because in battle and in leadership positions in the United States military, you have to be a whole person. And so we've always concentrated not only making you very smart and making you very strong, making you a great leader, an ethical leader. I think that TM will provide us another whole dimension of integrating all of that, improving my performance in all of those domains. And I haven't found anything else that can do that yet.
Last semester I had a pretty heavy course load, as well as being cadre for a platoon, so, you know, having 27 recruits that are under my command and, you know, trying to lead them as well as balancing my academics. And I was tired all the time. My muscles were tired, my mind was tired. I was beginning to fall asleep in class. And I started meditating, and I started noticing the difference right away. I became more alert, and when I meditated, my body became more relaxed. I actually feel my muscles being relaxed. My mind was rejuvenated after every time. And that semester, I got the highest GPA I've ever got with 23 credits, the biggest course load I've ever taken, with 2 seminar classes. I got a 3.47 GPA.
One of the biggest differences I've noticed between my platoon and some of the other platoons is we're more professional and we're more locked on. We're not joking around. They're not breaking their bearing. They're keeping that 1,000-mile stare. Them meditating does make my job a lot easier. I'm not an angry person by nature. Don't tell the rooks that, but I don't like yelling at people if I don't have to. But if I can talk to them and get them to do something with just a stern tone, then that's much better for me, and I think it's more effective for them as well. Meditation definitely enhances their ability to essentially comprehend what we're telling them to do. I remember when I was a rook, we were told things 3 or 4 times before we finally got it right. We tell it to them once, maybe twice, and they're getting it right.
We've kind of picked up a bit of a reputation on campus as those weird people that meditate, and I kindly point out to them the fact that we don't fall asleep in class. We've got better PT scores, we do better on tests, we have better uniforms, we don't get yelled at as much as they do, and then they quiet down pretty quickly after that. I would say the biggest benefit is the energy. I mean, in high school, I would drink like a whole thermos full of coffee a day, and I don't have to do that anymore. It feels good to not have to rely on things like that and be able to do it myself.
I was a skeptic at first, but now that I've learned, it's great. I mean, I've directly seen the benefits. I'm a senior, and I've never gotten over a 3.0. This semester, I've had 22 credits, 4 lab sciences, and I have a 3.6. I don't think I just got that much smarter. I think the TM helps me focus, and so when I study, I get more benefits out of it.
I'm happy that, Norwich is now following them and looking at their grades and their retention and all the objective outcome measures that an organization would care about. So just like the Army would look at, we're happy if you feel better, but we're really happy if you feel better and you don't get in trouble and you perform better and you are retained longer.
As a leader, you have to be alert, plain and simple. You need to know what's going on with your men. I believe that being introduced to the TM program as a future leader, you will become more alert and you will be able to pick things up more easily. Be able to handle with the stress of leadership.
The one thing I notice about the platoon that's practicing meditation is how the cadet leaders and the rooks are handling stress. This appears to be an effective tool for our cadets to help them handle the stressful military school environment where they are really striving for excellence academically, militarily, and in a lot of cases, physically.
The things that really stick out with the platoon that are meditating is they really make it. They are all on board with making this a priority because I believe they see their own results.
If it's well documented and it's a good thing, then why not improve our soldiers' welfare?
I've noticed I've become more patient, especially in my position in the Corps.
It's been an incredible experience. I didn't think I would be doing this in college.
I know that if I wasn't doing TM, I would be falling asleep in every single class.
There's a significant difference in not only my stress level, but my general mood.
I love it. It's amazing. It feels great. I definitely want that to carry with me into the military.
ROTC commissions 70% of all the officers of the United States. Could you imagine if, by this experiment at Norwich University, the birthplace of ROTC, if we provide a very important tool in these young officers' toolbox that they've never had the benefit of before, we can influence 70% of the officer corps in a very short period of time. And we owe it to them to give them the best tools to win. And I think this is one of these tools.